Hello everyone, Team Tech here, back at it again with another War of the Techs discussion video. This card right here, this is not 3 Strikes Barrier. That card is absolute fucking trash. This is Drowning Mirror Force. We're talking about the big 5 Mirror Forces today. So we're gonna get started with the actual original Mirror Force and the advantages it has. It's very similar to Blazing, but we're going to be talking about their differences in a moment. So let's get started. Mirror Force is a card that basically states, if you guys don't know what this iconic thing does, when your opponent's monster declares attack, destroy all their attack position monsters. So it's basically, all the Mirror Forces in their own way are very popular battle traps. And I'm going to be discussing their flaws. First things first, a flaw that all the Mirror Forces have is that they're extremely susceptible to spell and trap destruction before the battle phase. However, if your opponent doesn't happen to be running that, you might be able to pull a fast one on your opponent with the Mirror Forces. Mirror Force is the most plain one that I've seen, with the idea that it just merely destroys the monsters. However, comparing that to cards like Quaking, Drowning, and Storming Mirror Force. Just remember, this is Drowning Mirror Force because I don't have it in real life right now. And I felt too lazy to buy a copy of it because that card is also trash. But, in its own way. And I'm going to explain why. In comparison to Storming Mirror Force, in cards like Storming Mirror Force, it merely just wipes out the monsters. I think I should just keep them all here as I talk about each one, because most of this video is going to be them comparing them to each other. Mirror Force and Storming Mirror Force are the most different ones. Storming Mirror Force bounces the monsters back to the hand, right? But Storming Mirror Force doesn't target when it does it. It doesn't target or destroy. So back when Major Spectres were a deck, you used these 3 against Major Spectres back then. Because they can't be targeted or destroyed. Thus, these 2 were worthless pieces of cardboard paper. As Major Spectres were a deck that couldn't be targeted or destroyed by any of your opponent's card effects. Thus, these 2 were useless. However, we're in a format now where bouncing your opponent's monsters back to the extra deck, it actually isn't a bad thing, because then they have to relink all of those out. However, if your opponent is not running a link-based deck, Storming is not a very good card against them overall. While Quaking against anything that's not link is an excellent card, because it just sets the monsters down permanently. They can't go back face up. However, as we get more and more in-depth in these link monsters, Quaking Mirror Force is going to become obsolete faster. While cards like Drowning, which I believe effect-wise and ceiling-wise to be the strongest Mirror Force ever, however, it's still shitty in its own right. With the fact that you literally need to control no monsters in order to resolve that. And your opponent has to be an absolute dumbass to attack you, while you just have that one face down on the field. And they throw out their whole board out there, and they don't have any trap negation on the board. Your opponent has to be an absolute dumbass to do that. If you were going against dumbasses at your locals that will actually fall for that, then by all means, run Drowning Mirror Force in all of your decks that are absolutely shitty and terrible, and that just rely on luck sack in order to win. The only decks I recommend this card for are Yosenju decks, because Yosenjus always go back to your hand, and they never stick around in the field. Thus, it's the ultimate card against them. Storming, I recommend more for a pure Kaiju deck, because you can just bounce the Kaiju on your opponent's field back into your hand. Thus, Storming is a very powerful card in that aspect, understanding that you can simply just Kaiju them again, and that right. While Blazing is a card I know I haven't talked about this card very much or this one very much because these two are the worst ones here. But at the same time, they're still good in their own way. Blazing in a deck like Barrier Statue Stun can help you push for more damage even faster. Think about it that way. Think about this for a second. Blazing allows you to push for damage really fast in your Barrier Statue deck. Which is why me personally, back in the November, December-ish, January-ish format, with Barrier Statues, I used to run Mirror Forces in my deck. I will admit, I used to run Mirror Forces. But they just became shitty just in Barrier Statue. Just like most of the other cards that most bad Barrier Statue players used to run the damn deck. But, as time grows, you gotta adapt to the times, man. But anyways, back on regular Mirror Force. Regular Mirror Force is not a bad card in itself, because it just simply sends all of your opponent's Link monsters to their graveyard. However, the main flaw with Mirror Force is that if Mirror Force clears out all your opponent's monsters, and your opponent top decks a card like Soul Charge, or has an individual mechanic in the deck that allows them to get their effects in the graveyard, like the Goki archetype, it does, they're just going to bring back all their Link monsters to their main monster zone without having to redo any of that work all over again. So, and it's the same reason why Blazing is not good in anything outside of Chain Burn, Trickster, and Barrier Statue. Blazing, overall, not the best Mirror Force, obviously. Mirror Force and Drowning is also eliminated because it is only really good in Klee Stun and Yosenju Kaiju Stun. So now we're left with these three. Quaking, Regular, and Storming. Quaking, I've always believed, until Link Summoning came out, to be the most powerful Mirror Force you can run in every main or side deck. But now that Link Summoning is out, Quaking has become a horrible card. Even in Barrier Statue, it's only good going first. And if you're not going first in Barrier Statue with this, you're at the disadvantage of going second with Barrier Statue already. But now we're going second with Quaking your deck against a Link deck. This card is just fallen from its grace to absolute garbage against anything that's Link related, let alone some pure Star Grail decks. So, I love this card, but it's just not good anymore. I'm sorry. I want to use this card so badly, though, but it's just lost its power. Fuck Konami for killing this card. No wonder they reprinted this as a fucking common. They trolled us again. And now, we're left with these two. Regular Mirror Force and Stormy Mirror Force. On which one is the best one. Now you're down to good against anything except decks that have huge graveyard recurability, and is good against anything except non-Link decks. Because, it's good against extra decks, but if you're going against a deck like Cosmo with Stormy Mirror Force, unless if you can replace that with a Barrier Statue monster, before your opponent gets a moment to do anything, this card is useless against a deck like Cosmo. Right now, I say that Mirror Force is the better card. But in the future, Storming Mirror Force is going to become the best Mirror Force in the deck. But it's a tie between these two. These two have tied the war. These three have either been shitty from the start or have fallen from their grace. Sorry, guys. You're out of here. Let me do that again for you guys. Sorry, guys. You're out of here. These two are the best ones to run. And if you're not running one of these two in your decks, with the exceptions, aside from some of the exceptions that I've listed, Overall, with the exception of decks like Yosenju, Trickster, and Barrier Statue, you want to run these two. If you're not running these two, then you're going to start seeing problems with your deck against the overall competitive meta scene. This is Team Mortec signing out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my videos. Let me know what you think of this. Team Mortec signing out. Peace!